everyone and happy Monday. We have a picture today from Magical Jungle and we're going to do something a little bit different to how I would normally do a page like this for you guys. And we're going to do a pastel background, but we're going to do it first. Normally I leave my pastel, oops, sorry, just knocked my pencil down. Normally I do my pastel backgrounds last. And people say, oh, do you do them first or last? And it's normally last because you can end up making a big mess and smudging it all over the place. But because there's all these little tiny bits and I've got an idea that I'd like it quite dark around the outside and lighter around the what is he, chameleon? So that it sort of frames him a little bit. I think it's going to be easier to do that first. So that's what my plan is. I just need to put a couple of pieces of paper under here to protect this edge of the book and this edge, because otherwise the pastel might end up going all over the place. I think I've left them next door. I have. Everything would have just jumped for you. What I do is when people have used the printer and they've printed something by mistake, I keep those bits of paper and turn them inside out so the printed bit is on the middle. This is actually a Johanna Basford page. I don't know why it's been printed. Anyway, and it's been printed in such dark colours. I don't understand what I think it must be a scan of my coloured in page printed out. Why I did that, I've got no clue. So anyway, it's behind there is a rough piece, and because you've got a nice clean page there, there's going to be no colour transfer. Right, my background's going to be greens. I'm going to start with a light green. Now we've got quite a nice set of olive greens here, and you know that I really like olive green, so that is what I'm thinking of. But now I've said it, I'm thinking maybe it might be much more sensible to do a mid green like these so that it will work with anything. So I think that's actually what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start with a lightest green, which is this one. I'm just going to put some onto my cotton, whoops, my washable cotton sponge. I'd actually got round to washing them. I'm just going to turn that back round because it's dirty on the back. So put plenty on like that. And I need to hold this page down so it doesn't rip. I'm going to use another sponge to hold the page with, so that I don't want to put my hands on the page because it'll get messy. So you can see how the page is changing colour already, hopefully. Now if you don't have the pastels, you could use, some people do amazing backgrounds with watercolour. You could consider using alcohol markers actually in this book. I got an alcohol marker the other day and it just one, and it was a sort of freebie. You'll see, you would have seen it actually in my sort of unboxing video that I did recently. Yeah, I got a freebie alcohol marker, and it's got me thinking about them. So you could use one here if you don't use the diary on the back of the page, but if you do use the diary on the back, then obviously you don't want to do that. Or you could use a water-based marker. I don't know if they go through this paper because it's quite thin still. They probably don't go through as much as a, well, they wouldn't go through as much as an alcohol marker, would they? But if you're using an alcohol marker, be really careful because you can ruin a lot of pages. They go through lots of pages. When I used mine, I tested it out. You would have seen in my completed pages video if you've watched it, where I tested it out. I used a plastic laminate behind the page to make sure there was no bleed through whatsoever to anything, even though it was a single-sided book, which I wouldn't use them on anything else. I was really, really cautious, especially this is my first time using one. I could see the attraction, I have to say. They seem to go down much more evenly than a water-based marker, and quite quick. It had a nice thick tip, which was quite quick to apply, although it's already getting worn down because it was quite a toothy book. But anyway, it was interesting, but I don't think it's something that I'm necessarily going to start using regularly, but as I had one, I wanted to play with it. You know how it is. It was a freebie, so I thought let's have a play. But anyway, for the background alternatives, you could use pencil. It's a lot of work doing a background this big with pencil, but it can look stunning if you do. Or you could just leave it blank. You know, there's no need to always do a background on every picture. Some people feel it looks unfinished without one. I don't really. Now it's a little bit uneven down here, but I'm going to go to a darker colour now. So I've done a base. It's actually a bit lighter at the bottom, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to go to my next darkest colour, which is this one. We get quite a big jump to the next one, but anyway, I think I'll put it in the same spot. I think once I've got some on, it will look darker. Now, how many layers of pastel you can get will depend on the paper. So I have absolutely no idea how many layers I'm going to be able to get here. I'm going over this whole, it's moving a lot. You'll see why I have to hold the book down, but I'm trying not to hold the book down really hard. I don't want to spoil the book. I think I'm not going to go hard down that side. I think I'm going to do a sort of circle around. This is actually half of a double page spread, if any of you will remember from Magical Jungle. And so if I was doing the double page, I would take this across both pages and leave it lighter here in this centre bit. But it is just an excerpt, half a page. I don't know if it's even the whole page, to be honest. I think it is. I haven't done this page for a long time. It's a bit darker in the corners now. Yeah, let's just do this. There we go. Now right in the corners I'm going to go even darker. Actually, I didn't do a lot up there, so I'm just going to do a bit more there first. It's quite good to make sure you get your basics done right. Now let's talk fixatives while I'm doing the rest. They will stop the pastel coming off onto the facing page, which can be quite useful if you want to preserve whatever's there, because if you've completed that page it might mark it. If you're going to complete it, it will leave marks on it, which it will erase. I will demonstrate that later. You can erase it. So it's not the end of the world. If it transfers to the facing page, you can just erase it. But if you've obviously got something there already that you finished and you really like, then you might not want it to get covered in pastels. So it's worth thinking about whether you want to use a fixative. I have two types. I've shown you them before. One is supposed to be odour free, but it isn't completely. One of them is very stinky, but some people seem okay with smells and some people not. I really find them very offensive, but I don't like the smell of marker pens either. And other people, the alcohol markers, I think they're really nasty, particularly Sharpies. Ugh. But some people say they're just fine with it. So I think it's all to do with how sensitive you are to smell. Okay, I've done the dark bit. It's not really dark. I'm going back to the next lightest one and just blending it into the edge of the dark. So just going along that edge and just mixing them together. It's worth taking a little bit of time. Now if you when I finish this part, I could potentially put fixative on right now, and that will stop me getting it all over myself, all over up my pale sleeves, up my arm, all over the desk, everywhere else. And that's fine. You would want to spray it out. I usually go outside, and you would need to leave it to dry. In this centre section where it's paler, I'm going to put some yellow. I quite like the idea of it being quite bright, so I'm going to use this really bright yellow. My yellow's getting used up. Or will it be better with the lemon? Lemon. So I'm just using the other side. I've just turned my cloth around. So you will then, yes, need to leave it to dry, so that will take some time. But then you can, and it leaves a texture behind on the paper. So although it's workable, so you can, if you buy a workable one, you have to buy a workable one, just to warn you, because otherwise it won't, you won't be able to do anything with it. It'll, I don't know, I've never had one. I guess it'll be like a lacquer. There we go. I'm happy with that. So you need to work it. You need to yeah, buy a workable one, and sort of work on top of it, and it leaves a layer behind, which can be a little bit tricky to work with. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Tombow Mono eraser to delete the pastel from a few items, not everything. On the leaves, which I'm probably going to do green, I'm not too worried about having green there. But on these flowers, which aren't going to be green, I don't want the green pastel on them. So I'm going to erase it. Now erasing can take quite some time if you want to erase everything. But this is why I'm just keeping it to a minimum. And if you look on this page, there's very little that doesn't have a green in it. So then I'm going to do this flower. Another way of doing this is you can mask the items using masking fluid, and then just peel off the masking fluid after. I think that would work better with paint, because if you rubbed around near the pastel, it would rub off, you'd rub that off as well. I think I'll undo that bit too. But that's another technique. I'm not very accurate with a paintbrush, so using masking fluid doesn't work too well for me. Let's just use the brush. Now everything else is leaves, apart from the chameleon, which I feel he would be blending in. So I think he might be, he's quite yellow, so I think he'll be fine. So I think we can go. So I'm going to, rather than use a fluid or anything like that, I'm going to get a piece of paper to lean on. I'm going to rip one out of my pad, which I've got next to me, and just use that to lean my hand on so that I won't get pastel on me. That's my plan. Anyway, let's just pop those away. I'm just going to pop my pastels away, because if I knock them with my hand, they'll go all over the floor, and I've done it, so I don't want to do it again. I'm not drawing a video, thankfully. There we go. Right, let's come in nice and close. Now, this is definitely not going to be just a one-off video. There's a lot here on this page. So we're going to start, I think, with the leaves at the top. And that might be all we have time for today. I don't know yet. Oh, excuse me, I've got my Arteza Expert Pencils, and I'm just having a look and thinking about where to start, really. I think I'll start with the moss green, and we'll do some dark bits on these leaves. Now, I have seen these pages coloured with really pretty bright coloured leaves, not greens. And that is certainly an option that could be considered. But for me today, it's easier to do the colour of the background. So I could have chosen a different colour background. Of course, I could have made it look really magical and I'd done it pinks and purples and then done pink and purple and blue leaves or something. But no. So what I've done with this leaf is I've made it a little darker here where it overlaps. And what that will do is give the impression that there's a shadow from this leaf. And then when we do this one, sorry, did I tell you I'm using the moss green? I don't think I did. Or did I? My memory's terrible at the moment. I am feeling a bit better. I haven't been very well, but it's not an excuse. It's no excuse. I think it's well, I've got a different excuse. I think it's the menopause causing me my memory loss. But anyway, so I'm doing it darker along this edge and then lighter towards the right hand side of the leaf, and then when it overlaps you can see that overlap like that. Okay, but we're going to use another colour as well. We could use the pear. I'm really careful with my usage of this pencil. It's my favourite. And yeah, you can tell. So I'm just going to put quite a lot down here to finish off this edge. You could use a yellow for this actually, a particularly greeny yellow. We don't really have a greeny yellow. Probably the lemony colour would work the best. But anyway, we're doing it this colour now. So yes, fixatives are useful, but they have their limitations. I think I can conclude to that. So there's that little bit. Look. I'm doing it quite quickly. It's quite a lot on this page to do, and to be honest, for me it's quite a daunting page. I don't know if it is for you as well. So I don't want to make myself feel too overwhelmed, shall we say. I've been actually procrastinating doing this page because of that. This is the matcha green. It's starting to sharpen off. So that I think is a gap. So I think we start here, and we're going to continue with the same pattern of lighter over there. And I think what we'll do is we'll make this one lighter on the right hand side, this one lighter on all the edges, and then these lighter on the left, so it looks like the light is right in the middle. I think it will look a little more balanced somehow, but I might be wrong. We'll see. So I'm putting down quite a thick layer here. I've just been doing some Easter colouring. It's been really good fun. I'm thinking of what to do for you for Easter pictures, because this isn't very Eastery, is it? So I thought I'd do a few Easter things. I found a few books with Eastery pictures, so that's rather fun, and other Eastery things, so or spring-like. So here we want it lighter on all of the edges. To be honest, I always find that quite tricky. What I'm going to do, I think, is to do a light layer all over and then think about how I'm going to tackle it. I'm sort of ignoring the drawing on the leaves that Johanna's done for us. I found this really good paper, which works really well with my polychromos, because usually when I print out something, I use Bristol board De La Rowney, and it actually doesn't work too well with polychromos. They seem to slide a bit on the surface. I think it's a bit slick, and so I decided to try something different. So I also was quite keen on using some paper that had some colour in it. You know, then you might not have to do a background, or you might be able to show up your pale colours more, or your metallics, or whatever it might be. So I bought some toned paper. It's there we go. I want a lighter one now. I'm going to use the lime green. It really is quite light. I'm just going to sharpen it. So it's made by Derwent actually, and you get, I think it was 20 sheets. This is lime green, and I think there was yeah, there were 4 different colours of paper. There was a cream, which is quite a yellowy cream, which is what I'm using at the moment. It's the first one I've tried. Then there are 2 greys, a sort of very light grey, and then a slightly darker grey. Actually, you would have seen this if you've watched my unboxing, because it was in that video. And then there's a darkish brown, sienna brownish colour. It's, you know, a reddish brownish. It's not red, but it's a more red brown rather than a grey brown, if you know what I mean. So I had those. So I've done the cream ones for my Easter egg pictures that I've been colouring, and I've had so much fun. So I'm not doing anything too daring with the new paper, I'm just playing, you know, which is great fun, of course. What have we got now? Let's go a bit darker again. What should we try? Fern green, forest green. It seems right to use the forest green as we're in the forest, isn't it? So here is our forest green. Oops, I'm just going to move those a bit out of the way. So I'm going to do these three, and as I said, I want the light, sort of the lighter part sort of on the left hand side, but this one overlaps in quite a lot, so I'm just gonna put quite a lot around all these sort of overlapping area and then start to fade it down. It's quite dark, isn't it? Yeah, but I've been having lots of fun, so I'm just trying to think of what to do Eastery for you in the mornings. This is I don't know if I've got a morning video done for today or not yet. You would have seen it, you'll know. No, I would have done it by the time you watch this. But I'm trying to sort of find a few Eastery things just for a little while. I think it's fun. It's nice to have a bit of a theme sometimes to guide you on what to colour. You know, I've always got so many ideas of what I want. Ooh! Of what I want. No, that's not going to work. I've always got so many ideas of what I want to colour that it's actually containing them. I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do that. No. I while I was sharpening, I was looking at those two leaves and that one, and I don't know if they're the same as this one. I'm thinking I might do them the same as well. The last picture I did in Magical Jungle was actually Chris Cheng. Again, if you've seen my completed pages video, you would have seen it. It was great fun, but it's like a whole day, you know, doing a Chris Cheng, and that's a whole day without many breaks, you know, proper whole day, and doing a whole page. And I had the whale of a time, and I learnt so much, and yeah. So I watched one of hers yesterday too. It was a sped up one, and it was one of Clara Markova's books, her newest one. Chris Cheng has coloured a page from, and I was just watching it sped up just to see how she, but so many layers of colour, layer after layer after layer. It's like, oh, it's so beautiful, and the just the light and shade is so good, and that's what I'm trying to learn. I can do it a bit in a simple way, but I like to be able to do it a bit more. I'm going to use the absinthe green. You know, I'd like to do it more effectively, more realistically, but anyway. But I've been playing with my Easter pictures, actually doing a bit more shading. It's been good fun. I mean, I do a bit anyway. Obviously here we've got a bit of shadow going on, but it was to really overemphasize, but it's taking a long old time. You know, I spent a whole morning doing one Easter egg, which was a sixth of an A4 page. But oh my, did I enjoy it. Because I've been feeling a bit under the weather. I'm just spoiling myself and having fun. Oh, I'm having a hot flush. Oh, or a temperature. I can't tell at the moment. It depends how long it lasts. But I had a really good lunch today. I'm feeling so much better. I've been feeling quite nauseous and temperatury and but and dizzy and ugh. But today I'm not feeling dizzy or even lightheaded. Not feeling at all nauseous. I've got my appetite back, which is really good. So I had a huge lunch. Well, I made, while my toast was toasting. Yeah, I'm liking that little bunch. I think we want something to balance it here a little bit browner. I didn't do that leaf in the end. Maybe I'll match those two. Hopefully that will work. I'm thinking a little bit browner. Got the coyote brown, but that is actually brown. Yeah, maybe that will work actually, if we mix it with the right colour. So yeah, this is the coyote brown, which is a very brown. Although I've sit it with my greens because it's a bit like the Prisma asparagus. I think it's called asparagus. This is not asparagus colour by any stretch, but yeah. And this one will fade this way like we have with the others. Anyway, for my lunch I toasted 2 slices of delicious wholemeal farmer's market bread, and I while it was toasting, I took a few spoonfuls of chickpeas off the top of a jar, washed them off. I don't like the I don't know what you call it, the aquafaba, that's what you call it. I do know what you call it. I'm going for something quite light. I think we're going to try the mint green on top. It's a really weird combination. I don't know if it'll work. Yeah, so I washed all the aquafaba off, and then smushed them up with a fork. Added some extra virgin olive oil. Doesn't really mix, does it? They just sort of sit on top of each other. I'm just going to thicken that layer a bit. And some extra virgin olive oil, some lemon juice. So now we've made hummus so far, haven't we, really? I got a bit of nutritional yeast powder to thicken it a little bit because it was quite runny. And then it didn't need salt because the chickpeas were in brine, so I had a tiny bit. I squodged it. Is that all I put in? Yeah. I squodged it on the toast and I topped it with some salt and pepper. Delish. Right, these little hanging down bits, I think they could be the colour of these leaves here. So I'm actually going to grab that mint green, I think, and do them that colour. I think I'm going to have to put the paper that way. So I say hanging down bits are like vines, aren't they? So I think then it will look like it ties into one of those plants. So yes, if you haven't seen a Chris Cheng video, then oh my, you should watch one, but try not to be too completely overwhelmed. I'm going to use... I think what I'm going to do is use the same colour for this one, and then those two the same, because those two look the same. This is the fern green that I'm going to use for this one. I don't know if I'm going to use more than one colour. I might just use one for this, because it's... I might just fade it towards the tip, and that might just be enough. So yeah, go and have a look at Chris Cheng, but try not to be, if you get overwhelmed then by people who are amazing, then don't watch it. But if you like to be inspired by people who are amazing, then definitely go and watch it. And she is just, and every so often I think doing one of her tutorials for me gives me a bit of a few new ideas, although I don't sort of copy her because I just can't, she's just too amazing. It gives me a few colour combinations or ideas of how to make some light and shade or things like that. I was watching someone on Instagram this morning. Oh, yeah, Johanna Basford had shared a picture of the heart from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, and the chap who did that, I started following him immediately on Instagram after she posted the amazing picture, and he shared a reel and he was colouring a butterfly, the butterfly from that particular picture, and it's only about this big, and my goodness, the amount of time. So a base colour, then a bit more, a bit more, a bit more, another colour, a bit more of that colour, but a bit there and a little bit there, and then round, and then a bit more, and then the body, and then 5 different colours on the body. Oh, and then a bit of white pen, a bit of pen here and here. And it was a reel, and I don't know what the maximum time for Instagram reels is, but it was really sped up and there were jumps in it. And I was like, I guess that butterfly, which as I say, it's about this size, would have taken half an hour. And I was like, I have a lot of admiration for people who have that sort of commitment, but I can't always sage green spend the time that long. I get a bit bored, to be honest. I mean, although the pictures are beautiful, I think it's in my personality, because my personality, I'm a finisher. You know, I get great joy from finishing a picture. And although some people have said to me, well, your pictures aren't finished because you don't always do backgrounds, it has to just be finished according to what I feel is finished. And for me, sometimes pictures don't need backgrounds and they don't need a million layers of colour. You know, it just depends what mood I'm in and what I'm going for. And I do have, I know that some people ask me, is this finished? Does it need a background? And it's like, well, not everything needs one. You know, I feel that pictures like this, where we've got a scene, we need something going on like a sky. I don't feel that having a white background would quite look right, although I have done them before. When I first started colouring, I didn't do backgrounds at all. But if it's a abstract thing, like a heart, you know, then it doesn't, does it need a background? Why? Who's to say? It's, you know, it's up to you. And like this one, we've just done something really simple. So you can see I'm fading to the tip of the leaves. I'm going to grab the spring green. A few greens I haven't used. I'm going to grab the spring green and go over the tips and just smush that colour together a little bit to make it a little bit brighter. There we go. I've got a lot of bitty bits at the minute on this page. Now I haven't used the more bluey greens. I don't think, this is not what I wanted to do really. And let's give that a brush, my goodness. There we go. I've got these vines, I mustn't touch the page. The basil green isn't too bluey, and the jade green, so I might use those two, but I'm not going to use the sort of turquoises. The shamrock is very, I'm just scribbling with them on the scrap bit of paper. That one's okay. The emerald green is okay as well. See, the basil is a bit more bluey. We'll use this one. I'm sharpening. This is the jade green, and I quite like a dark one for vines, so I'm just going to use this for the vines. See, it's a little bit bluey, but it isn't. It's not like the turquoise. The sun keeps going in and out today. I hope it's not upsetting the camera too much. It's just nothing I can do at this time of year. I think my best bet is to record on early mornings in dull days, but I just can't always do that. My boys were home this morning. I was trying to coax them to do some work. I'm going to struggle, I think, over the Easter holidays, which comes very soon. Or it will be the Easter holidays when this goes out, because when I'm not coaxing them, they don't do any work. So I might need to get a bit ahead in my videos so that I can be there trying to encourage them. My one son was like, right, I'm going to, in the mornings, I'm going to do a past paper, and then in the afternoons I'm going to go over and learn the things that I didn't do very well. Emerald green for the tips. I'm going to go over the things that I didn't do well in the past paper. And I'm like, well, that all sounds good, but that's a lot of work. And my other son struggles to get a past paper done in half a day. So I don't know whether he's being... And today, he did virtually nothing this morning. He just couldn't get his head into doing any work. So it's like, we'll have to see. Right, let's do our flowers. It's quite difficult to choose a colour. You know, we've got all this green going on and we need a pop of colour. The chameleon's going to be sort of browny yellows maybe, something like that. So we want something to stand out. Now I'm thinking oranges go quite well with green, and we've got some brown up here which would sort of tie in, or yellows. I think the butterfly could be very orange, so maybe these, they could be peach, but they might not stand out well enough. Or we could do them red, an orangey red. I think we'll do oh, we've got a blood orange. No, I'm not going to do that. That's what have we got? Rose red, carmine, crimson. Oh, crimson. We'll use the crimson red, I think, for those. So here we go, crimson red. Now I think I'm going to fade them up. So I'm going to put a dark layer at the bottom. So just keep layering it up, and then start to do less layers as you come up the bell. Also tempted to do blue, maybe the light blue bells. Like that, and then the same on the next one. Yeah, it's strange weather this morning. It was sunny one minute, pouring with rain the next. Had my lamp on doing some work, doing some colouring, and had to keep pulling it close and then pushing it away. And silly British weather. It's what we've all come to expect though, I think. I think I'm going to grab a darker reddish colour. I'm going to go for the garnet red. Just darken up the bottom bits a bit more, just to help them stand out even more, I think. I can hear a sound like it's raining now, but it's bright sunshine, I think. I've got my blind closed so I can't see. Maybe I'm just imagining it. I only heard it a little bit. It's just, yeah, oh, where they just fade it up a bit. And at the very top, I don't want that to, it looks a bit scruffy. So I want to sort of blend it together. I think I am going to use a really light peachy colour. This is peaches and cream, because I want it to look more orangey. So I don't want to use a white or a pink, because it'll look too orange, too pink. So I'm just going to use this, and I will use it all over to sort of smush it all together really. And it will give that slightly orangey feel that I was after. There we go, let's just brush them. Should we do the butterfly? How are we doing for time? Oh gosh, we've used a lot of time already. Let's do the butterfly, and then we'll leave the rest for tomorrow. I'm going to start with the blood orange for the part nearest to the body. Here you go. And what I tend to do is just pull my pencil up from the page as I make those strokes, and then they tend to fade. That looks like it needs a bit more there though. Let's really layer it up. There we go. Then our next lightest orange, which I think is the orange. Let's just call it orange. And just go over what you've done. Take it up to those circular parts. Don't worry if you go over them, but try not to. And leave a little edge. It definitely is raining and sunny. I'm going to go and see if there's a rainbow in a minute. It actually sounds like it's hailstones, so loud. There we go. Now I'm going to do, I really want a grey brown. What have we got? I don't think we've got anything blacky grey. I think I'm just going to use the charcoal for the body. Give it a sharpen. The charcoal grey. I usually like to leave a lighter bit in the middle, but I don't want to leave too much. There we go. And then I'm going to use a black for the bits that we've left. I do like my butterflies outlined in black. So we'll do these circles in black. Although we erased the pastel, it's still there a bit, so we can't leave any white because it will look greeny yellow. So we just pop in our black, and I use some white pen for the white that I want to put on the butterfly. Just get my head a bit closer. Hopefully it's not in shot. That wouldn't be ideal, would it? Okay, so there he is, and I'm just going to brush it off, and then use some white for. I'm going to use a small one, my Gellyroll 5, because it's little. I'm just going to scribble it to make sure the nib isn't clogged, and then put some dots on him. Let's unclog that nib again. There we go. So there is the butterfly. So there is the first part of our page. It did take a while, but we have done the whole of the background and some leaves. I don't know whether this part, which will need 2 or 1 more video, potentially 2, but we'll see. I'm not in the mood for rushing, so we'll see. But we've used a lot of pencils for that bit, but come back tomorrow and we'll do the next bit. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a really lovely Monday, and happy colouring.